Father Johnson's great. We went to the same university, Franciscan. He and I were talking yesterday. There used to be a priest on our campus named Father Gus. Now, Father Gus was about 85 years old, about 4.5 feet tall, holy as could be, like little Mother Teresa running around. And one day, he's walking down the hall, down the sidewalk with a bunch of college guys. Walking towards them was a group of beautiful college women. And as they're about to pass each other, the women stopped as they saw Father Gus, and he looked a little sad. And they said, "Father, you okay?" And he's like, "Well, actually, today is my birthday." And they're like, "Oh," but he said, "No one baked me a cake." And they're like, "Oh, Father Gus." And they hug him and they kiss him. And they're like, "Okay, Father Gus, we're going to go to the store. We're going to bake you a cake right now." He's like, "Thank you." And then they all run off to the store after hugging him and kissing him some more. Then one of the guys looks down at Father Gus. He said, "Father Gus, you're terrible. You know today is not your birthday." And he looked at him and winked and said, "That's how it's done, boys." Now, Father Gus, his heart was pure. It was. He did this to girls all year long and had a weekly supply of birthday cakes being delivered to the monastery there. So, good old Father Gus. But I think, that's how it's done, boys. Like, we're getting a lot of messages. This is how it's done. This is what you're supposed to do to be a man. And I don't know about you, but in today's culture, do you ever feel like you're expected to apologize for just being a man? That they just expect you to say sorry for that? Dude, for the next hour, we're not going to say sorry at all for being a man. We are going to rejoice in this fact of what God has created us to be, okay? And, I like to start my talks like some uppity positive stuff, but I got some really rough news to break to you. I know this is going to break some of your hearts, but Hasbro, the toy company, a couple months ago, I don't know if you saw this, actually announced that Mr. Potato Head will no longer be called Mr. because they're afraid of offending people by implying that the potato could be a man. Yeah. I mean, this is real, dude. I mean, it's going down. Worse than that, Berkeley, what kind of wacko city over there in, the Bay Area of San Francisco. Berkeley, literally, I'm not making this up, their city council voted unanimously to make sure to eliminate all gender distinction from the city's municipal code. Now, what that means is they actually have a rule now that says manholes may no longer be called manholes. They must be called maintenance holes, because otherwise you're excluding women, implying that they can't go into the sewers too, and that's not fair. And so they literally, as a city council, approved a $600 budget to change the entire municipal code so that the word man is not in manhole. Like, what on earth is going on? And I think right now, what's going on, things are splitting apart, where on one side, you have people saying, well, gender is just a social construct. There's no real thing as masculinity or femininity. These are societal expectations we impose upon children, and that molds them to act in this particular way. Some people buy that. In fact, Hasbro, the toy company, bought that, and they decided they wanted to make a gender-neutral playhouse. This was supposed to be a dollhouse that boys and girls would interact with in the same way. It didn't go very well. Here's what happened. They said, it turned out that boys and girls did not interact with the structure in the same way. The girls dressed the dolls and played house and fed the babies. The boys catapulted the toy baby carriage from the rooftop. It said, it appears that boys and girls are different. Well, do you think so? Well, I do too. And so on one side, you got people saying, oh, man, woman, there's no real difference. On the other side, you have people that have an overly rigid gender stereotype. That if you're a real man, you're into drinking beer and just shooting deer and watching NASCAR. And if you're not, then you're not a real man. It's like, well, okay, well then what about people like me? Because I don't fit that. Okay, I'm not, I know we're not far from Daytona, but I'm sorry, I'm not into NASCAR. I cannot watch a car go in circles for hours. And dude, I can't even change my own oil in my car if you ask me to. I'm not a car guy. Okay, that's all right. Am I into drinking beer? Not really. I like red wine, maybe a little bit different. I like that a little better. Am I into hunting? Actually, no. I actually threw a rock at a bird when I was a kid, and I hit it, and I still feel bad about that, okay? So, look, I'm not some perfect stereotypical man, but that's okay, because, look, I don't need to be. I know I'm a man, not because I feel so manly. I know I'm a man because I have a body of a man. The body is not meaningless, the body is meaningful. And we have been fed so many distortions of our masculinity. And I want to dive deep into this. Into like, for example, our brothers in Christ in this room right now who might experience same-sex attractions. I want to challenge you as your brother this weekend to firmly renounce the lie that you have been fed that you are not a real man because of the attractions that you experience. I want to feed some truth into that lie right now, that your manhood is not defined by who you're attracted to. I kind of wish it would be, because then I could be like, wow, like I'm such a man, because like girls are really pretty. I'm a real man. It doesn't work like that. I also want to challenge those guys who might be friends with these individuals to not withhold your friendship from them. Because a lot of guys, even in the church, will be like, well, yeah, that guy's, into other guys. Like, I'm not going to get close to him as a friend or anything, because then people will think I'm like that, and, I just can't afford that. It's like, and that's also going to get weird, because like if I'm around him, then he's going to like be crushing on me and stuff. Dude, let me just break through that. Look, that's not how it works, okay? Guys are not, if a person experiences same-sex attraction, it doesn't mean that they're automatically attracted to you if you happen to be the opposite sex. That's like me thinking that all women are attracted to me by virtue of the fact that I'm heterosexual. I wish that were the case, but I have a nagging suspicion that's not reality. And so don't flatter yourself in thinking any guy experiencing those attractions is going to be attracted to you. Don't withhold your friendship from these individuals, because I'm telling you, your manhood is not derived by who you're attracted to. Your manhood is derived and measured by the willingness that you have in your heart to conform yourself to Jesus Christ crucified. Do you want to know what makes a man effeminate? St. Thomas Aquinas said it loud and clear. St. Thomas Aquinas says what makes a man effeminate, this is his definition of effeminacy. He said when a man refuses to let go of what is pleasurable in order to do what is arduous or difficult, that makes a man effeminate. If I refuse to let go of what is pleasurable in order to do what is good and arduous and difficult, that is what effeminizes a man more than anything. And if we lose sight of our masculinity, God has stamped into our bodies as men, not only our identity as men, but our calling. Look at the male body. It's meaningful. How is your body distinct from a woman's body? We are allowed to think of these things. We're encouraged to. Well, how's my body different than her? Well, look at a man's body. You have been given by your Father in heaven, revealed in your body, the strength to initiate the gift of life-giving love. It's stamped into you. Break this open. What does this mean that this is stamped into you? Strength. What does a man's strength reveal? Well, we're different. Strength, for one, men have 36% more muscle mass than women do. 90% of women have a grip strength that is weaker than 95% of men. Now, this does not mean that women lack strength. My wife has delivered 8 babies. Trust me, women have strength. Trust me, if men had to give birth, like, seriously, if we had to give birth, how many people you think would even be on the planet right now? There'd be like 12 people, and like 8 of them would be accidents, okay? Like, look, dude, trust me on this one. Women got strength, okay? But we uniquely have this gift of physical strength. Well, what are you supposed to do with strength? Well, you serve with strength. Obviously, we can use it to control and dominate and manipulate and all that and abuse, but the proper gift of strength is to serve. I once heard a guy say, look, if a piano needs to be moved, don't be the guy who picks up the bench. In other words, you use that strength to serve, not to choose the weakest option. And our model in this, I think, should be St. Joseph. If you ever see artwork of St. Joseph where he's like this elderly man, that is horribly inaccurate. I hate artwork of St. Joseph that shows him like this old man, because as one, that's thoroughly inaccurate. Jewish men at that time would get married at about the age of 18 years old. St. Joseph was also a tekton. The word carpenter doesn't match up with the Greek well. The word tekton in Greek is carpenter and lumberjack and construction worker and masonry worker. This was a man's man. He was a lumberjack. He'd have to cut down his own trees, carry the trees into town. And so you could imagine young Joseph going out, chopping down these, cedars and trees, and he would have to carry that lumber through the Holy Land. In fact, as he grew as a father, he would teach his young son how to carry lumber on his shoulders through the streets of the Holy Land. And you can see where that would end up leading. And so Joseph was, a man's man. In fact, when God said, look, take Our Lady, go to Bethlehem, go from Nazareth to Bethlehem, Bethlehem to Egypt, Egypt up to Nazareth. You know how long that is? Get it on Google Maps. Go look. Nazareth, then go to Bethlehem, then go down to like Cairo, Egypt. That's about 550 miles Joseph was told to go. If Joseph was an old guy, that would not work. I don't even care. It doesn't matter if he had tennis balls under his walker. Like, he's not going to get there at like 80 years old, gardeners. So God chose Joseph. So why would they depict him as an elderly man? They said, well, we paint him like an old man to protect Our Lady's virginity. Because if we make him really, really old, then it's understood that he wouldn't be like, dude, that is so off base. Our Lady was not protected because Joseph was too old. His love for Mary, because look, he loved Mary. Not only did he love Mary, he was in love with Mary. How could he not be? She was Our Lady. But his love for her, and this is key, was not a threat to her virginity. It was precisely Joseph's love for Our Lady that was the very safeguard of her virginity. That's why her virginity was safe, because him and his young heart loved her so fully. And so we need to turn to Joseph to learn how to use our strength to serve. But it's not just to serve. Strength is given to us to conquer. Not to conquer like some woman for the sake of myself, but to conquer myself for the sake of the woman. And ultimately called not just to conquer, but to sacrifice. After one of these talks one year, a guy came up to me. I said, Jason, you know what? He said, it's great talk and all. And he said, but honestly, he said, look, I love my girlfriend so much. I mean, we're having sex and everything. And he said, but I love her so much, I would die for her. I'm like, for real? And he's like, oh yeah, I would die for her. He said, if someone put a gun to my head, I would tell that guy to just shoot me instead. I'm like, no kidding, man. You take a bullet for your girlfriend? He said, absolutely. And I said, okay, if you're willing to die for her, then do it. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, look, dude, nobody's going to be shooting your girlfriend unless she's involved in like organized crime or some Mexican drug cartel. And if that's the case, you probably need to make better dating decisions. It's like, look, you don't got to protect this girl from the mafia. That's not what got to happen. I said, you got to protect her from your lust. That's the death that needs to die. Because look, we all want to look like a knight, but at the end of the day, we don't really want to bleed like one. And what we want to slide back into is this mentality of well, if the girl's willing to do it, then it's okay. It's like, really? You just want to leave it up to her? Because I'm telling you, a guy would never put a girl in a compromising situation where she even needs to say no. He wants to guard that innocence. It's real love. And so God's calling us to use our strength to do what? To initiate love. But here's the problem. Do you know, honestly, how to initiate love as a guy? Most of us, the answer is no. Why not? And I want to apologize to you because I think the church, love the church, I'm a loyal son of the church, but we've done a pretty miserable job in teaching you when it comes to sexual ethics. All you get told, for the most part, is everything you're not supposed to do, right? So you go to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic youth group, and then you get to college, and you think, okay, I got this down. I can't sleep with my girlfriend. I can't look at porn with my girlfriend. I can't cohabit with my girlfriend. I can't have an abortion with my girlfriend. I can't clone my girlfriend. I learned that in bioethics class. Okay, great. So I know everything I'm not supposed to do with the woman. Well, what am I supposed to do with her? Oh, well, sorry we didn't cover that. Good luck in life, kid. And you just kind of get dropped off there. And you just get fed generalities. Well, be a gentleman. Oh, thanks, What does that mean? In case you guys don't understand, we men do not operate well with abstract principles. We don't do that. Women can handle it, men, doesn't work. My wife will speak to me in an abstract way. And I don't know what she's talking about. She'll be like, honey, I could use a little more help around the house. I'm like, house big. And she's like, take out the trash. I'm like, okay, this is a conversation. I can work with this. We need specifics. And so I would suggest, instead of focusing on all the thou shalt nots, let's just look, what are we supposed to do when it comes to dating, relationships? Let's get super specific. So I'm gonna get super specific with you. Comes to dating, first step, don't flirt ever with a woman. Why would you say that? How are we supposed to start a relationship? What's the definition of a flirt in the dictionary? It's to pay romantic attention to someone else without serious intentions. It lacks intentionality. It's playing with somebody's heart. This doesn't mean you can't be playful with someone you're attracted to, but there needs to be intentionality. And before the flirting happens, what you got to do is discern. Is this the right woman? And is this the right time? In other words, well, wait a minute, I'm going to Louisiana State University next year, and she's going to be going to UCLA. Is this really the right time to start up a relationship when we're going to spend the next 4 years of our life opposite sides of the country? So first is discern. Is this the right girl? Is this the right time? If so, you pursue her with sincerity and commit to her with clarity. Now, this is not a robotic formula. You don't go up to a girl after lunch, I've discerned I should pursue you. She's like, well, it's a stalker from the men's session. No, okay. But discern, is this the right girl? Is it the right time? And then when it comes time to ask her out, I was writing a book for guys on this called The Dating Blueprint, and I surveyed all these women online. We've got 100,000 girls following us on social media. So I said, ladies, we're writing a book for the guys, and I want you girls to tell me what you wish guys knew about dating. So just leave it in the comments below, and I'll put it in the book. Oh boy, the floodgates opened. We got more than 30,000 words of feedback within hours. It was like sipping out of a fire hydrant trying to consume all of this. But the stuff they said was gold. The first thing I said is like, if you're gonna ask a girl out, you may not ever use this to do that. You cannot ask a girl out through a text message. They said it is cowardly, it is lame, and it is insincere. You're just trying to take the easy way out because you're afraid of rejection. One girl said, look, the easier it is to ask a lady out, the easier it is for the lady to say no. In other words, don't take the easy route out. Ask her out. And how do you do it? Face to face. And you think, well, I'm nervous, whatever. Get over it. Because when you ask a girl face to face, you've already won. And what I mean by that, one, if you ask a girl face to face, she's not stupid. She knows you're facing the risk of rejection. But that tells her, this is a guy who's willing to take some risk. That's attractive. Even if he's nervous, he's overcoming that for the sake of getting a shot at going out with me, which makes me feel more attractive because I'm being clearly pursued here. And then when you ask her out, there's one word the girl said you have to use if you're asking her on a date, okay? That word is date. Okay, you can't say, I think we should hang out sometime. We should get together sometime. We should get a cup of coffee. Because in the girl's brain, it's like, hang out? What does he mean, hang out? Is he gonna like take me on some like romantic riverboat cruise? Or we're gonna like sit in his basement and play Minecraft and drink Monster Energy drink? Like what does hang out mean? Like, and her brain is just spinning like, dude, she had no clue what you're talking about. And so clarity in terms of your intention. Also, you're not allowed to use an intermediary. And what I mean by that is you are not allowed to ask your friend, to ask her friend, to ask her if she likes you. Okay, look, my friends, 7th grade is over, okay? Like, we can't do that stuff anymore. It's got to be between two of you. And then, let's say the date don't go real well. Or let's say you date a girl for a year and it's time to break up. The girls pleaded, please don't ghost. Okay, ghosting is when you pay romantic attention to somebody and you kind of lose interest and then you just disappear. And the girls left there thinking, well, where did he go? Like, does he like another girl? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I wear the wrong thing? You know, was he abducted by an alien? Like, was he deported? He had a really cute accent. Like, where did he go? And she's left there for months wondering where the heck you went out. You know, and so be willing as a man to have a difficult conversation. Because if you can be clear and intentional and courageous when it comes to entering a relationship, because there's something in it for you, are you willing to be gentle enough at the end of that relationship to have some clarity and courage and intentionality and explaining to her why it's time to end it? That's a tough conversation, but you know what? She's a big girl and she can handle it. Being able to say, look, I've really enjoyed our time together and I like this and this and this about you, but I've just been thinking we might not be the best match, and I just want to be honest with you so you can be free to find someone who is the right match for you. So there's a compliment, there's clarity, and there's closure, instead of her wondering where the heck things went. And the girls say, like, if a guy could just have the clarity to do this stuff, it would make it so much easier to them when it came to relationships. So we've got to learn to initiate love and also to make sure we're not initiating lust instead. I know growing up, this is a big problem for me because how much I got into the pornography growing up. And friends had it, buddies had it. In my high school, one guy in my high school actually passed out porn from his locker to anyone who would vote for him as senior class vice president. Dude, he's in the hallway, vote for Travis, vote for Travis. Like, I don't know where he is today. He's probably in Congress by now, but, you know, we would just laugh it off like, oh, it's not a big deal. No one's getting pregnant. Like, and I had no clue what I was doing to myself looking at all this junk. Because like in one afternoon of looking at porn, a guy today can see more perfect women's bodies than any man in history could have ever seen in hundreds of lifetimes. And you get it in one afternoon, I'm back the next day, back the next week. You do this for a couple of years and then you jump into marriage thinking you're going to be captivated by one till death do you part. It doesn't happen. What are we training ourselves for? It's like when I was in college, I played 3 years of college baseball. I remember one day I'm being in the outfield, and the coach yells at me in the game. He's like, Evert, come in. I run to the dugout. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you take me out of the game? He's like, no, I want you to pitch. I'm like, I don't pitch. He said, I saw you in batting practice, got an arm. I just need you a couple innings. I'm like, Coach, look, I didn't even pitch high school ball. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, you're going to be great. I said, I'm going to look like an idiot. And I get up there. I'm like, dude, what am I going to do? Everybody's ready. Catcher's there, batter digs in, the crowd's there. And I'm like, I have no clue. And the catcher squats down. He starts giving me all these signs. You watch baseball. He'd be like, throw a fastball. If you agree that's the right pitch, kind of nod your head and you throw it. If you disagree with his pitch selection, kind of shake your head, he'll suggest a different one. You want to throw a curveball, knuckleball, forkball, what do you want? Now, my problem, I don't have a good fastball. I don't have a reliable curveball. I don't have a knuckleball. I have a baseball. That's what I have. And so I'm like, what am I going to do? I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to play mental games with the batter. So the batter digs in, the catcher squats down. He's like, 1. I'm like, no. He's like, 2. I'm like, not number 2. 3, no. 4, no. 5, no. Then he starts laughing at me. He's like running out of fingers at this point. He gets like number 7. I'm like, oh yeah, number 7, whatever that is. The batter's like, how many pitches do you have? I threw the first pitch. I hit the guy on the first pitch. I hit the batter. That's how it goes. But the moral of the story being is that if you train yourself for years, lust, and then the day comes to love the woman, you can't fake it. All you know how to do is take your own pleasure. And I've seen this in my own life. I was speaking at a high school, all girls in the Midwest. The teacher brings in front of her girls a group of college guys who are Catholic because she wanted them to talk to girls about how they practice their faith in college. During this classroom discussion, in front of 30 girls, it came up that one of those guys looks at porn. And the teacher said to him in front of these girls, well, don't you think that could present a problem in your marriage? And he's like, what, that I look at porn? He's like, why would that be a problem? Isn't that what a wife is for? Oh, no, actually not. Marriage is not the fulfillment of porn. Porn is the distortion of human love. And what's needed is for our vision of the human body to be restored. What does that look like? St. John Paul II, basically my hero, wrote a quote on purity, and I put it in this little book I wrote on his life, because this guy's my absolute hero, where he talks about what happens in you when you grow in purity. Listen to this. He says, we acquire the virtue of purity, and this means that we come to, get this, an ever greater awareness of the gratuitous beauty of the human body, of masculinity and femininity, and this gratuitous beauty becomes a light for our actions. Do you hear what he's saying? He's saying that as you grow in purity, you come to a greater ever awareness of the gratuitous beauty of the human body, and it is precisely that beauty that becomes a light to your actions. What is he talking about? What he's talking about is going way back to Eden. When God first revealed Eve to Adam, listen what the scriptures say. God brought her to the man. Then the man said, he saw her body. He saw her naked body, and he rejoiced. And he said, this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. Therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother, cleaves to his wife, they become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, but were not ashamed. Why were they not ashamed? Some people, it's kind of like an isolated jungle tribe where they just show up and they're like, I didn't even know I was naked. He's like, no, that's not what it is. It's not like 2 little kids in a bathtub. They don't even know they're naked. No, John Paul points out the reason they're naked and not ashamed is because of the purity of their heart, the relationship with God, that Adam could actually look at the naked body of Eve, and instead of seeing her body as an invitation to lust, to reduce a woman to her sexual value, he saw in her body his invitation to love her in a life-giving way that imaged the very love of God. And what shame could there be in Eve knowing she was being looked at by a man with such trembling reverence? And this is why John Paul II said, when you men can grow in purity of heart, you can give your wife all of the peace of the interior gaze, meaning that she knows in the depths of her heart when you look at her, you don't look at her as some pornified woman to be used for your gratification, because a woman can tell, not just face to face, I'm telling you, a woman can tell from 100 yards away if a man is looking at her wrongly. In her heart, there's this restless vulnerability. It often grows into this resentment towards men in general, a guardedness. But as the man grows in purity of heart, he can actually see her body for what it is, an invitation to love. It's like, okay, well, this is really neat theology, but what am I supposed to do? When I see some girl at the gym wearing yoga pants and I'm at church and I have some pornographic flashback of some image I saw like 2 years ago, and I'm trying to pray and this comes, what do you do in the moment? What is your strategy? Well, here's what I try to do. When I see a beautiful woman, I got a tempting thought or whatever, just make a real tiny, just little sign of the cross on your forehead like that. Nothing big, just something like that. You're kind of making your thoughts captive to Christ, and here's what you do. First part of the cross, where does it go? Goes up. So when you see a beautiful woman, here's an idea. Instead of thinking, oh, sex is bad, sex is dirty, poo-poo, let's try something more healthy. And you see someone beautiful? Try this. Thank you, God, for making her beautiful. You could pray Psalm 84. How lovely is your dwelling place, Lord mighty God. So first act is gratitude. That is the proper response toward beauty. But don't stay there. Now come down to the cross. What's the cross comes down? Contrition. But God, I'm sorry for the times I've lusted after your daughters. Please create in me a clean heart. But don't stay down in the guilt and the shame. Now come up. Now the cross goes off to the side. Look at her hand. She have a wedding ring? Pray for her and her husband. No ring? I want you to pray for her and her future vocation. What you're doing right now is you are transforming temptation into intercession. You could drive by a pornographic billboard and see the beauty and say, and just stop. Thank you, God, for making her beauty. I'm sorry for the times my brothers have lusted after these women. But God, I want to pray for that woman on the billboard right now. Pray a decade of the rosary, because you might crave union with her in a sensual way. And you might have been taught, oh, no, you're not made for union with her. Guess what? You are made for union with her. How is that fulfilled? Well, what if you actually prayed for her? She's a real woman. What if those graces descended upon her wherever she's at in life right now and triggered her conversion? She discovered her value as a daughter of the King of Heaven, pursued God, went to heaven, and one day in heaven, God will unveil before her those prayers you sent to her that were part of the trigger of her conversion. And together, you two would stand in all of the glory of your glorified bodies, praising the Blessed Trinity for all eternity, surrounded by the host of angels. That union of love would be greater than any sensual expression of lust you could have for her. And so you're responding to her beauty with love. But you don't stop with just praying for her. What is the source of her beauty? The Blessed Trinity. This is why when you see someone beautiful, there's an ache there that's unsatisfied, because they're just a finite expression of the infinite beauty of God. So try this. You see a beautiful woman. You're tempted by any lustful thought of anything. First up, thank you, God, for making that person beautiful. Second down, contrition. I'm sorry for the times I've lusted. Give me a clean heart. Third thing, pray, intercede, respond with love. And then lastly, remind yourself of the beauty that you were created for in heaven, adoration. Because you must understand, your sexual desire is not sin. People think sexual desire is lust. And as long as you think sexual desire is lust, you're going to give up 5 minutes after this talk, because the temptation's going to come and you're like, I messed up again. But look, sexual desire is different. What's the difference? I was speaking at a conference. College guys came up to me and like, Jason, could you help us out? They're like, look, we're in a problem. We're in this thing called NET, National Evangelization Team. And they said, we travel around the country doing retreats for high school kids. And he said, 4 guys and 4 girls. And he said, we drive around in this van doing retreats. He said, the problem we have, though, the girls in our group, he's like, man, they are gorgeous. They are holy. They're intelligent. They're funny. They've got great personalities. And all of us are sexually attracted to them. I said, okay, let me get this straight. You are spending the majority of your year in a small enclosed vehicle with 4 gorgeous college women, and you're finding yourself attracted to them. They're like, yeah. I said, ooh, you should go to therapy for that. And they're like, really? I said, no. I'm like, dude, no, you've got to understand that the desire and the recognition of beauty is not a sin. That's a reaction. Do you know when you see beauty? Scientists say that within 1/3 of a second, your pupils will dilate, your skin tone will flush, your muscle tone will change, your heart rate will increase within 1/3 of a second. That's a reaction. There's no immorality in that. But now after the reaction comes your response. What do I do now? Do I lust after her in my imagination? Or do I hold back and realize this is my sister in God? And you pray, you intercede, or whatever. And so we're called to recognize that not every attraction is lust. And so we're invited to give this love that is life-giving. And this, unfortunately, is a place where a lot of guys are scared to death. Life-giving love? A lot of guys are afraid of their own fatherhood. I spoke at a high school. I asked the guys, what is the most common sexually transmitted disease? One guy's like, ooh, I know, pregnancy. I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, kids are not bacteria, okay? I mean, fatherhood is a gift. Fatherhood is the greatest joy I think a man can know. I'll tell you the best part of being a dad. is when your wife leaves to go run errands and then you have all the kids to yourself. Because if your wife is gone, like there's really no adult supervision, right? And so I remember one day my wife was like, honey, she said, I have a kickboxing class. I'm like, okay, go have fun. And I got the kids myself. My kids, mom's gone. Let's go upstairs. WrestleMania. They're like, yeah. So we run upstairs. We got this king-size bed. So I'm like, ding, 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 let's go at it. It's like mixed martial arts or ultimate fighting, but you're allowed to do like wedgies and wet willies and stuff. And I'm slamming. I was like drool flying all over. They're like diapers getting chucked. And I'm like slamming them because I'm undefeated. And like you just go at it until someone gets like a fat lip or a concussion on the end table, and you just go downstairs and eat cookie dough. Like, this is fatherhood. But what's sad is that when we live outside of God's plan for our sexuality, we become afraid of our own manhood and what could come forth from that. We should not live in fear. Listen to what St. John Paul II said. He was doing a retreat for college guys in Poland when he was a bishop. And he said this, God, who is Father, who is Creator, has planted a reflection of his creative strength and power within man, and we men should sing hymns of praise to God the Father for this reflection of himself not only in our souls, but also in our bodies. God the Father has left his mark on you. And you know what life can come forth? Not just physical life, but spiritual life. Have you ever heard this? That if a mother and a father have kids, and the mother practices religion and the Christian faith, but the father doesn't, 17% of the kids will become believers. But if the father practices the faith and the mother does not, 93% of the children will become believers. They follow the footstep of the father. And so if you want your kids to be believers, obviously it's great to find a believing wife. It's super important. But we've got to find first our band of brothers to live this out with us. This is not a lone ranger. Because all of our inherent masculine pride, we don't want to talk, no, I got some issues, I got it all together, I got this covered. And we don't make nearly the progress that we could just being around brothers. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and he's like, hey, do you remember Matt from Steubenville? I'm like, yeah, I haven't talked to him in years. How he's doing? He's like, yeah, he's doing great. He said, you know what? He said, I was talking to him. My friend said, Matt gets up every morning at about 4:30 in the morning. I'm like, really? For what? Like at early work? He said, no, he prays for 2 hours every morning for his family before they wake up so that he can know how God wants him to lead him that day. And then he starts his day. And that's like, just one second in the conversation that hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, yeah, I get up a little early for prayer for myself, but not like that. But just being in the presence of your brothers, man, people, when you're hanging out with guys walking the walk, when you're with the wrong kind of guys, you see their faults and you think you're doing pretty good. Walk around the right set of guys, you don't see their faults as much, you see your own. But that's what makes you progress. We can't do it alone. It's always been this way. In the early church, there's an emperor, Licinius, that declared Catholicism illegal. And he wanted everyone to burn incense to his pagan gods. He had 40 Roman legionary soldiers that were Christians. And these Catholic guys would not burn incense to the pagan god. And so he had them put in prison. And he begged with them, like, come on, you guys are my best guys. Just burn some incense. We're all good. I'll let you get out. Because it's like Navy SEALs. You don't want them in prison. You need these guys. But they wouldn't bend. They wouldn't break. And so they were handed over to the governor to be executed. The governor marched these 40 guys out to a lake in modern-day Armenia, this frozen lake, and had them stripped completely naked. And then they had to march out onto the ice and just stand there until they were dead. And the other soldiers who were pagans were around the shore of the lake to see that none would escape. And they lit fires and warm baths from hot springs, letting the guys know, if you want to come to the shore, warm up here, hop in the bath, burn some incense, you're all good. And the men huddled together that night, and refusing to give up. And they began praying together that, God, you brought us together in the sacred number of 40, and may you crown us with 40 crowns in heaven. And that you could imagine the fog of their breath rising up like their own incense to the true God. And as they were praying, one of them couldn't take it anymore late into the night. The hypothermia couldn't take it, and he broke from the ranks, and he ran to the shore. And he jumped into this hot spring. And apparently, the shock of going from hypothermia to the hot spring killed him. Must have had cardiac arrest or something, and he died on the spot. But one of the pagan soldiers was so inspired by the faith of the 39, took off his clothes, declared himself at that moment to become a Christian, walked to the ice, joined the other 40, and that night, all of them 40 perished on the ice. In the morning, the emperor wanted no memory to be kept of them and their courage. So their bodies were cut to pieces, they were burned, and the ashes were floated down the river. Now, that emperor is long since forgotten. But those 40 martyrs of Sebast are honored in icons throughout all of Eastern Christianity. But my question is, what if each of them had their own little lake? Hey, just stay out there all night. How many of the 40 would have lasted if he did not have his band of brothers beside him? And so my encouragement with you, we can't do this Lone Ranger. But if we've got that band of brothers, it is going to become more than possible. God has given us the grace to fulfill this. Then the grace you are primarily going to get as brothers is by coming together to the altar, to the Blessed Sacrament. Jesus Christ, the bread of angels, will give you every grace to be the man. Because when you look at porn, the message is, that is your body taken by me. The antidote to that is in the hands of the priest. This is my body given up for you. That is masculinity. This is my body given up for you. This is what a husband says for his bride. This is my body given up for you. And I think we were given in this century a tremendous saint to see what the Blessed Sacrament devotion should look like. St. John Paul II was a great hero of mine. I was blessed to see him 24 times in my life. And I've done a lot of research on him. And when he came to the United States once, before he comes, the Vatican sends people to get ready for his visits. The priest in charge is named Father Roberto Tucci, a Jesuit priest. And he was in Baltimore getting things ready for the Pope. It was the bishop's residence. And the priest there at the residence was showing the bishop around showing the Father Tucci around to get ready for the Pope. And Father Tucci was walking through the bishop's residence, looking around, and he noticed one of the doors in the hallway opens to a chapel with the Blessed Sacrament. And Father Tucci said to Father Michael White, when the Holy Father comes, please make sure the door is closed. We don't want the Holy Father to know the Blessed Sacrament is here in the residence. And Father Tucci, Father Michael White looked at Father Tucci and says, well, why? Why are you hiding Jesus from the Pope? And he said, well, look, we're in charge of the Pope's schedule. Every minute of the Pope's schedule is organized. It's got 5 minutes with the Vice President, 8 minutes with the seminarians. He said the problem with Howard John Paul II is whenever he finds the Blessed Sacrament, he insists on visiting Jesus. He gets lost in prayer for 45 minutes, and it ruins the entire schedule. He said we reroute his Pope mobile away from Catholic churches. Otherwise, he wants to go in and see Jesus. So we just drive him down the block, no harm, no foul. So he said, look, when the Holy Father comes, all of these doors look the same. Make sure they're closed, and we'll stay on schedule. 2 weeks later, the Holy Father comes, and he's walking down this hallway with his entourage, Monsignor Jeevish and the Pope's secretary, everybody's there, and he's walking down the hallway, and he passes the door at the Blessed Sacrament, and he keeps walking, and then he stops, and he turns around, he looks at the door, then he looks over to Father Tucci and shook his head and wagged his finger at him, opened up the door and went right into Jesus. And Father Michael White was there, and he was astonished. He said there's no way he could have known. He's never been here before, but he sensed our Lord's presence. And he said, if you think that was a coincidence, he said, man, if he didn't do the exact same thing the very next day in the seminary. The question is not, is Jesus really present in the Eucharist? The question, are we really present at that Mass? And so with your band of brothers, come before that Blessed Sacrament to be made new. And so in the closing minutes that we have together, and we've brought up these wounds of masculinity, these distortions of masculinity, these areas of life that need healing. And we've also brought up brotherhood. But like St. Therese says, it's a much better thing to talk to God than to talk about him. And so we're just going to take a couple minutes together as brothers to pray. First, we'll model before you what we're going to invite you to do. We're going to invite you to turn to one or two brothers and pray with each other on this. Preferably just one brother, but if you need to, odd number, you can do three. And we'd invite you to just be raw and honest about any area of your life involving your masculinity, your manhood. And this isn't confession. I mean, you could confess, you're just not getting absolved. You could just open up, hey, maybe it's a wound in your own family from your own father. There's a lack of fatherly love. Maybe it's this addiction to porn. Maybe it's just the way you've bullied others or been bullied yourself. Like any wound of masculinity. Or just be like, I'm not sure, but like I could sure use my idea of what it means to be a real man, to be restored and healed. And then the other guy just pray over him for 30 seconds. And so we're going to try this together. And I'm just going to be raw and honest with my brother. And, I'll do this in front of you, and I'll ask your prayers for me also. And I would say, if an area, my masculinity is in need of healing, I would say it's within my marriage when things are going tough between me and my wife. Because like my parents, I never saw them fight once. And they've been married for like 50 years. And so I went into my marriage, like, honestly, pretty conflict avoidant, not really knowing how to deal with conflict. And when it does arise, my reaction is like, I'm not really interested in fighting with a woman over something. So I want to just go. I'm going to go hit the gym. I'm going to go take the kids out golfing. Like, I'm just going to go away. And so my way of dealing with conflict is withdrawal. But a man doesn't withdraw. When the smoke goes up, the Navy SEALs run in. The guys go in towards the fire. And I think that's an area where, honestly, to be frank, just I need healing, because I would just rather not deal with it. I'd rather just check out and hope it goes away on its own. And so that's an area of healing in my masculinity that I'd ask prayers for. And so turn to your brother, and then he will pray over me for 30 seconds or a minute. So we're going to do that right now. And if you want to pray over me, I'll take it too. Yeah.
Lord, we just thank you for Jason. Thank you for his life. Thank you just for the gift of his masculinity. We just pray, Holy Spirit, that you would fill him just with your peace that surpasses all knowledge. We pray, Lord, that he would just run into these battles that he encounters during his marriage, and Lord, that he would just bring his fatherly affection, just his confidence, God, that you are in control. And we just thank you for his life and the gift he is to others. Amen.
Amen. Now, everybody stand up. Turn to the person next to you. And I want you to just take 20, 30 seconds. One of you start, open up, and then I'll tell you when. We're going to start praying. Then we're going to switch it and do it one more time. And so if you've got two or three, if you got three, then maybe two you share. So go on ahead, take 30 seconds, open up your heart to your brothers.